Hello everyone, Tamakun here. I am just writing this up, displaying, I don't know, chatting, blogging, whatever you want to call this. I am here right now just to basically thank everyone for helping me out with my Extra Life charity run. As it stands, I raised, as of right now, which is December 2nd, I raised $305, and which gave me 10 hours of gameplay. And I couldn't have done it without the generous support of everyone who helped me out, everyone who donated, everyone who cheered me on. I just basically wanted to run through all of the games that I played for those 10 hours, give you a little bit of a taste of the gameplay of everything, and so you can get a feel of what actually went on during the entire time. I know that my computer is not exactly the most powerful thing, but now I actually just, like last week, just upgraded the video card. So maybe my streaming will get better now that I've got that. So fingers crossed on that, but we'll see how that goes. Anyways, so the first game I played, just because I wanted to start off on a nostalgia kick, was an old Commodore 64 game called Toy Bazaar. This is a game that I played way back when I was a kid. Oh, and I have a kitten. I have a kitten beside me. He'll come up, I'm sure, and you can see my kitten at that point. Toy Bazaar is a really simple game, but when you see it, it actually is pretty well detailed. The idea is that basically you're running a night shift of a toy making plant, but the toys are going amok and you basically have to collect them. It looks really odd because basically you're just filling out balloons and things like that, and here's my kitty. I knew that Rocket was going to show up at some point because he heard my voice. So you basically are popping balloons, you're jumping over little enemies, you're trying to avoid Hefty Hilda. I think it's a lot of fun. It's really simple in its execution, but basically it's just, I think it's a really solid gameplay. The next game, I think I'm looking at the list here, and I think I've got them out of order, but basically I have another game that I played called Thoth, T-H-O-T-H, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's what they call a twin-stick shooter, a game where you basically move with one control and shoot with the other, and all of the enemies are basically like primary shapes, cubes, spheres, triangles, that kind of thing, and they are trying to touch you. That's all it is. Basically, it's a very simple game, and games are like every level's in sets of 4. But they claim that this game was supposed to be very zen, but I'm basically feeling that it's actually almost more stressful based on the sounds of the music and things like that. It was really weird. However, I will admit that I actually really enjoyed playing it, and I kept going back to it every once in a while because I thought it was actually, just one more play. It was a really simple controls of, that made me feel like I wanted to keep playing. So that was very fun. Like I did last year, I just took a quick break at one point and played Drunken Robot Pornography, which lasted, I think, literally 2 rounds, and that was it. And then basically, I think I was trying to use the wrong controller. I'm not very good with that game, but basically, running around with... I've never been much of a first-person shooter, so it's really difficult for me to really get used to it. But it's fun, mainly because they just made, it was originally thought out as an April Fool's joke, and eventually just actually became a game. So that's just that. I tried the demo of a game called The Silver Case. Now, this was a game made, I think it's by Suda51. He made some really bizarre games back in the day, and he still makes bizarre games now. But I played first on the Nintendo DS a game called Flower, Sun, and Rain, which was a puzzle game. Basically, you're walking around and you had the silver case from the first game, which allowed you to connect to people and objects and basically figure out puzzles. It was a really weird game. I didn't really understand it. The silver case's controls were really confusing, and it was, a little more swear-laden than I was expecting for that, and a little gritty, and I wasn't really enjoying it as much as I thought it could. The next game, I finally got around to doing this. I wanted to basically run Windows 3.1 on my computer because I had a couple of games I really wanted to try out. The main one being a game called Devo Presents The Adventures of the Smart Patrol. This is a hard game to explain. Back in the day, Mindscape released quite a few interesting games. One was The Resident, Bad Day on the Midway. Another was The Dark Eye, which was a claymation game using the stories of Edgar Allan Poe. This one, I don't know if I can really explain how it works, but basically Devo somehow got involved with this one. But the idea was that basically you are a member of what they call the Smart Patrol, running around and trying to, I guess, uncover some weird conspiracy going on, and also avoiding things like something called the Turkey Monkey, which looks like it might be a Patient Zero type thing because it's encased in a container that looks like a turkey, and it's really bizarre. It was a really bizarre game. The idea is that there's like 8 or 9 different locations, and there's 12 hours, and you can only go to one location every hour. And so you just basically go in, you see what's going on that hour, then go to another location, or stay at the same location, and just try to make sense of what's going on. And you're apparently supposed to be collecting Devo rules, and I got one at one point because I went and saw a music video, and that was the extent of that, and it was really weird. And yeah, I'll show a little bit of it because this was back in the day when multimedia was the big thing, so being able to put full screen video and having all this talking, it was bizarre. It was really bizarre, but okay, I enjoyed it. I will say that I enjoyed it. I had a request for playing Jade Empire, which is an old BioWare game. They've been very popular for a whole bunch of other games that they've released, and I think might be getting my games wrong, but I think they did what's it called, Dragon Age, and they also did Mass Effect, if I remember correctly. Jade Empire is obviously an Asian-inspired mythological story. Your character is basically, in a small backwoods town, and you don't know anything that's going on. It gets invaded because you have a special gift. I didn't really enjoy myself too much on it, and unfortunately, when it comes to big games like that, where it's like a 40-hour time suck, I can't get myself involved in those anymore. So unfortunately, I didn't really like it very much. The controls were kind of clinky, and I actually had trouble with my computer. I had to reboot it at one point because apparently, for some reason, if the computer stays on for longer than a week, the software that actually runs that program has problems with the random generator or something. It's weird. I don't get it. The first of 2 games that I played from the Commodore 64 era, well, sorry, 3 games, I guess, if you count Toy Bazaar. The first 2 of the 2 Infocom games, if I want to be more clear. I played a pair of text adventure games. The first one I played was one called Bureaucracy. This was a game which, when you see the video there, it doesn't look too impressive. It's just text. But the game was written by Douglas Adams after apparently getting through some bureaucracy of something. I think it was something about him getting a visa to be able to come over to the States. He actually ended up making a whole game out of the ludicrousness of it all. And much like any other Infocom game, I didn't get very far. I couldn't find a way to move forward, and I wasn't sure what I needed to do, but the only thing I really succeeded to do was feed a llama. I don't understand even why I was feeding a llama, but I just gave him the llama food, and he just happily ate it. That's about as far as I got. I tried a game that had been sitting on my Steam library for years, called NPPD Rush: The Milk of Ultraviolet. I don't understand that game at all. I think the entire game is very nonsensical. Like, I can understand what they were going for. It's a high-speed race around the stage, collect things and shoot things game, but from my standpoint, from looking at it, it doesn't give you far enough of a time to be able to determine how far you are, like where you have to go, like where your enemies are, where your friends are that you have to pick up. It doesn't tell you, it doesn't give you enough, like, you know, the screen doesn't zoom out enough for you to actually understand what's coming up, so you move at very fast speeds and crash into everything. The controls are using the keyboard to move around and then the mouse to fire, which I find to be a little unintuitive when it's a top-down shooter. I mean, it was very artistic, it looks good, but I didn't really enjoy myself on that one. What I did enjoy myself on, though, following that one up, was a game called Farcry Blood Dragon. I've never played any of the Far Cry games. I'd heard some pretty good things, and I knew that they really pushed the limits on my computer, so I may actually have to go back to that now that I've got a new video card and see if I can even push it further. Far Cry Blood Dragon basically took the Far Cry engine that they had developed and basically make a 1980s neon game. Like, everything glows in the high colors of neon in the 1980s. It's got some really random, like, the cutscenes are all done in pixelated form, but the game is all in 3D. It's got that great gritty Blade Runner type style of look, but it also has such a big sense of humor about everything. Your tutorial to start, your character already seems to know what has to happen, but basically he has to walk through the tutorial, and he hates it. He hates going through the tutorials, because it's something like, you know, to jump, hit the jump button.
Jump if you wish to jump.
Spider, I hate you.
Right? It's silly. It's ridiculous. Okay, one other game that I like point-and-click adventure games. I picked this one up, and I can't remember, it must have been part of a bundle or something. I got a game called Dropsy. Again, this is a really hard game to explain, but they deliberately didn't put any like dialogue in the game. They used pictograms, and they've used a random language to basically explain concepts. So, and it could be maybe just the way that they developed the game, because the concept is that you are a clown who seems to be a little what's the word? Like, basically, he's not very bright. But the circus burns down, and it appears that basically people are trying to pin it on him because he's the only surviving member of the circus. Or maybe it was just the parents, I can't remember. But the thing is that basically all the characters talk with these images, and you have to basically read what the images are saying. So, from the clown's perspective, it seems that it basically simplifies it, so you kind of have to try to understand how he's thinking, which is good. The game is not pretty, but it's actually pretty in its ugliness. It's got a really neat art style. Dropsy is a little scary, but he really grows on you. He's really cute. And one of the actions in the game is to hug. Literally, you've got a button that basically is nothing but hug people. And I think your actual objective is to go around and hug everyone, but not everyone will let you hug them right away. So that's, I think, a pretty neat idea. I played another game for a very long time, and not a lot of people watched me on it, because Oxen is a really innovative game, and it's very story-driven, and so I can understand why people wouldn't want to watch me playing it, because basically it would be a big spoiler to them. Really fun, though. I really enjoyed how the game felt. It felt very natural. The dialogue options work very well. They flow together. You can interrupt people, or you can not interrupt people, or, you know, and you can basically really influence how the game plays based on how you end up talking to people. I think it's actually a really fun game. I'd really highly recommend that
My
one.
mom married his dad,
Um,
so family in law.
I had another request because I had Windows 3.1 set up. A friend recommended a game called Mutant Chicken Races. I had no idea what to expect when I came into this one. It was a bizarre game, but the idea is that basically you have literally mutant chickens, and you're trying to raise a farm, but you basically just have to bet on chickens and try to breed the best chicken. I genuinely laughed out loud when I saw the chicken race because it's nothing's crazy, special effects or anything. It's a Windows 3.1 game. You have chickens running across the screen, but they are tripping over each other and falling on their face, and the sound effects were perfect, and I loved it. I just couldn't get myself into it. I didn't understand what I was doing or how I was even supposed to get my own chickens into the race. So, but it was, you could look at it now and you can see that basically they probably couldn't get away with it today because they made like a Kentucky Fried Chicken character. They literally used the Colonel's picture in the game. But I mean, this is a game from, again, probably from the 1990s, and so back then copyright law was not, as big as it is now. Hell, when I was streaming Farcry Blood Dragon, an old song popped up, again, copyrighted, but, YouTube blocked the audio for it because it's a copyrighted song. It's sort of like, why do I even bother doing the streaming sometimes when basically the music won't even play? No one can hear me. I actually did that last year. I had an entire game called Kickbeat, which has a whole bunch of licensed songs. Nobody could hear me the entire time I played because all of the songs were copyrighted and YouTube blocked the whole thing. Anyways, not my problem. I'll just, but you know what, nonetheless, it was still fun. Mutant Chicken Races, awesome, really fun. It would be fun to see it again. It doesn't need any of the special upgrades of 3D graphics or anything like that. It just can be done the way it is. And then finally, the one thing I had actually a few problems with, because I went for 10 hours, I actually couldn't get it all done in one day. I took too many breaks on my first day and basically just played, I think about maybe 6 hours on my first day, and that was going from 11 o'clock in the morning till probably about 9 at night, and I just took way too many breaks. So I ended up going over a couple other days, but I ended up running, there was a power outage on the second day, and so I wasn't able to even do any streaming on that day. But then finally, the final day, I got some people together and basically played another Infocom game, a very difficult one, called Suspended. This one, again, if you look at the description here, you see it's very straightforward text, nothing too special for that. But the whole concept of the game is that you are indirectly controlling 6 robots. You are basically woken up and you out of suspended animation, and you are basically trying to find out what went wrong before too many casualties happen above ground and they come down to disconnect you. But when you start up, everything's gone wrong. Nothing's been repaired for such a long time. So you wake up and you talk to the robots and they all seem okay, but when you start having them do things, they start pointing out problems like, the seeing robot, the one that literally is the only one can visually describe things for you, their visual circuits don't work. So you have to get the robots together to figure out how to fix Iris to start. And on top of that, you have to, because Iris can't fix herself, you have to get another robot who has the ability to use a certain type of hand, you might say, to be able to manipulate the maintenance panel on Iris. And then on top of that, that robot can't go and get the grasper. So you have to go and get another robot to go and find the grasper for her. And that robot speaks in puzzles and riddles. So, like, when you went into a room, basically at one point it said it had a basket of goodies with a bunch of brains in it. I didn't know what it was talking about for the longest time until I had another robot identify what it was holding. And it was literally a container of integrated computer chips, like little processors. I'm like, right, from a computer standpoint, that would be a brain. So it's an interesting game. It was actually a lot of fun. The great thing about it is that it comes with a board with little chips, so you can actually keep track of where all the robots are. So what I actually did for the stream, because text is kind of boring, is I set up the whole thing so you had the map on the screen and we moved the tokens around just so we all knew where things were and kept the game going. And basically it was a lot of fun, and so I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and that's everything I had. So I basically just wanted to say again, thank you so much for all that you've done for me. I raised over $300. I just got a report from Extra Life themselves. They had almost 50,000 people dedicated to playing games this year, and they raised, as of December 1st, they had raised $8.5 million. And I am so glad to be part of this. I think that next year I'm actually going to try to join one of the actual Sick Kids guilds that hold an event downtown. And so, like, you know, I might be going to like a cafe or something, and playing board games, computer games, what have you, and continuing to play, but playing with a bunch of people. And so basically we'll be raising funds that way. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed this year. I really had a lot of fun. I've been giving out game codes to people for anyone who had donated. I'm still willing to give out some more game codes, because I still have a little handful of them if you'd like. If you want to donate, I'll leave a link down at the bottom. Yeah, just shoot me an email, and I will. I'll gift you one of the games that I randomly have in my list. Anyways, you guys have a great night. Thank you again so much. It was a pleasure to play games. It was a pleasure to have everyone on the stream with me, and I really had a great time. And I really hope to do it again next year. Of course, as always, it's all for the kids. You guys have a great night. Take care. Hey everyone, one final update. We are about 2 weeks away from the end of the year, but Extra Life is still going strong. They have raised $8.7 million, and what we are looking for is they want to hit $9 million by the end of the year. Donations are still going. What that comes down to is that for every person who is doing Extra Life, if they were to raise $6 a piece, we would hit the goal easily. So if you haven't donated yet, remember that we have right up until the end of the year, so feel free to put your donation in at the bottom here. I'm putting a link to it, and I really appreciate your support. You take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.